John Wick walked into the school, quietly, deadly. Okay, maybe not deadly, but he was a substitute teacher, and that's basically the same thing. He adjusted his tie, a small wince escaping him. He hadn't worn one of these since, well, he couldn't remember. Not really the outfit he was used to. The classroom was pure chaos. Paper airplanes soared. Someone played the trombone. Was that a goat? John sighed. It was going to be a long day. He slammed his worn leather bag on the desk. The noise, surprisingly, cut through the mayhem. Everyone froze, turning to look at him. The room was silent. John surveyed the students, his face unreadable. "Good morning, class," he said, his voice a low rumble. "I'm Mr. Wick, your substitute teacher." A kid in the front row, clearly the class clown, smirked. "Substitute teacher? More like substitute for boredom." He threw a wad of paper at John. "Big mistake." John caught it effortlessly. He stared at the kid, his eyes like ice. "You have excellent aim," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "But let's keep projectiles to a minimum, shall we?" The kid gulped, suddenly realizing he might have misjudged the situation. The other students watched, captivated. This was already more interesting than their regular classes. The first hour was eventful. John discovered that high school algebra hadn't changed much since he was a kid, which was to say, he still didn't understand it. He managed to keep the class relatively under control. Emphasis on relatively. One student, a lanky teenager with a permanent smirk, was particularly troublesome. He kept shooting spitballs at the back of John's head. John ignored it for a while. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he launched a stapler. It flew across the room, pinning a spitball to the chalkboard, right next to the smirking teenager's head. The room went silent. The teenager's jaw dropped. John turned around slowly, meeting his gaze. "As I was saying," he said calmly, "the Pythagorean theorem states..." The rest of the class sat in stunned silence. This substitute teacher was clearly not someone to be trifled with. Lunch was a battlefield. John navigated the chaos with surprising grace, avoiding flying food trays and rogue dodgeballs. He found himself face to face with the class clown from before. "Hey, Mr. Wick," the kid said, a nervous tremor in his voice. "About this morning?" John raised an eyebrow. "Yes?" The kid pulled out a pencil. "How about a rematch?" he challenged, brandishing the writing implement like a sword. John sighed. He really didn't have time for this, but the kid looked so earnest, and besides, it might actually quiet him down for the rest of the day. "All right," John said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Let's see what you've got." What followed was an epic pencil fight. John, using his years of combat experience, effortlessly dodged the kid's attacks. He disarmed him with a swift flick of a protractor and pinned him to the table with a well-aimed ruler. The cafeteria erupted in cheers. The kid, defeated but strangely impressed, looked up at John. "You're all right, Mr. Wick," he admitted. "For a teacher." John smiled faintly. "You're not so bad yourself, kid," he said, "for a student." The rest of the day passed without incident. Well, almost. There was the incident with the fire alarm and the impromptu history lesson about ancient siege weaponry, but all in all, it was a relatively normal day for John Wick. As he left the school, he heard a chorus of "Goodbye, Mr. Wick," and "See you tomorrow, Mr. Wick." He chuckled to himself. Maybe being a substitute teacher wasn't so bad after all. He had faced down assassins, fought his way out of countless impossible situations, but nothing, it seemed, could prepare him for the unique challenges of a classroom full of teenagers. And yet, he had survived. And maybe, just maybe, he had even made a difference.